Welcome to Gamepinions episode 26. I'm your host, Calvin, and today I'm joined again by the man who's always out of bubblegum, TJ.
Hey, it's good to be back after the long weekend.
Yeah, I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. I had a pretty good 4th of July. How about you?
It was okay.
Yeah? Did you do anything special?
No. Well, we had the typical family cookout, which was nice. We had some ribs.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're pretty good. So, yeah, that was nice. Yep.
That sounds good. We had some fireworks.
Oh, God, yeah, fireworks, yeah.
Not anything like crazy, but they were nice little fireworks.
Yeah, here it sounded like people were firing guns off.
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah. Not just necessarily on 4th of July, but the days leading up to it.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on out there? To me, it sounded like people shooting guns, not fireworks. But, I don't know. That may be because we're surrounded by trees, etc. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually noticed that, too. Like, it just at random times, even throughout the year, like, people launch off fireworks or guns or something. I don't really know why.
Yeah, that's the difference about living down here and opposed to living up there.
Yeah, so, yes, we had little fireworks. Besides that, we didn't do too much on 4th of July. However, I do have some updates for what I did during the weekend. So I finally got to see Into the Spider-Verse.
Wow. Okay, how'd you like that?
It was good. I liked it a lot. I don't know if I loved the story, so to say, but just the overall creativity, like having like the anime girl in there and just all the different like crazy characters. Yeah. Freaking hilarious. I really liked that a lot. Animation was phenomenal. Like, we've talked about a couple times already on the podcast. It was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun to watch. There's certain moments in the movie that, made me laugh out loud just because how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
Really good. I saw that right after seeing the new Spider-Man movie. So,
okay. I haven't seen the new Spider-Man movie yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just going to throw it out there. I like the new Spider-Man movie more than Endgame.
Really?
Yeah, just throwing that out there. And Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. So I guess maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I thought it was really, really good. It was a Spider-Man movie I was waiting for since Spider-Man 2.
Really?
Yep. And not the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2.
The all-time classic with Doc Ock and all that. The Raimi one. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. So so that's your favorite Spider-Man movie of all time then?
I feel like my nostalgia probably covers up a lot of the imperfections that the original series had.
Yeah.
But just because I haven't seen them in such a long time, I think that my favorite will probably always be Spider-Man 2.
Right.
But this one was pretty darn close. It was very good.
Wow. Okay.
Really good.
Well, we gotta knock that out then.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I hear when they talk about their favorite Spider-Man movies, have moved Into the Spider-Verse at the top.
I really liked it a lot.
I mean, at the end there, the animation is so ridiculous that it feels like my face is melting away.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had that same experience when they're in the whatever that machine's called.
Yeah. It's
which is creating the black hole or whatever it is, time space thing. It's like oh my God, it was just so much color on that huge ass screen. It's like almost too much. But the voice acting is unbelievably good.
It's very good, yeah.
I like the part where Nicolas Cage, the black and white noir.
Oh, is that who's voicing him?
That's Nicolas Cage.
I didn't know that.
Yep. He's amazing. Sometimes I let a match burn down to my fingers to feel something, anything. Oh my God, me and Emmy were cracking up when it happened. That was awesome.
Oh man, yeah, I laughed a lot. I think my favorite part of that movie was when Miles I'm spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen the movie. When Miles was first getting like his spider senses, and I guess like he was like he didn't return to his room or something that night previous, and the one guy's coming after him, and he's just like in his head, all right, play dumb, and the guy's just like Morales, you weren't back last night or something like that, and he's just like, who's Morales? And then he, I kind of butchered that a little bit, but that cracked me up because he's just like, no, not that dumb. So it was just funny. It was very, it seemed like a very fast moving movie.
Yeah.
Both in animation and in just overall pace, which I kind of appreciated that. And I mean, Miles is actually in the Spider-Man game on PlayStation, so I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
All right.
So you kind of see some crossover there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, and I'm definitely looking forward to a potential sequel, which I think is been all but confirmed, or maybe confirmed. So that's gonna be cool.
Well, they kind of left it open where he can still communicate with at least Gwen Stacy. So that's awesome if they can, stay in some type of contact with the other Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot they can do with it, like even add like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and
Space Jam it up.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
A lot of opportunity to do some wild stuff with that franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty much my weekend. I didn't play a lot of games during that long weekend. I did start to kind of play the Spider-Man DLC that I never got to do, but really didn't get too far in that. And it's pretty much been all the same. Oh, actually, you know what? I did get Mario Maker.
So Mario Maker 2, you have that now?
Yes, I got it because I had a ton of coins, I guess, stored up from all of my online purchases. I didn't realize you could use those to
buy a game.
Yeah, to actually, take the price off a game. So I think I got Mario Maker for probably around maybe like $29 or something.
Okay.
Down from 60. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Half off, yeah, just for buying stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and I actually am really enjoying it too. It is a lot different than how I thought it was going to be. I thought that you basically had to just build things.
Yeah.
But really it's just as fun to play other people's levels and the story mode that they included in the game as it is to create the stages. So even if you're not good at building things, like I'm terrible at building things, even if you just like to play the different stages, it's basically just like a more creative 2D Mario game. So it's very fun.
So did you play the first one?
Never did.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Wonder how it compares. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
You got it for half off and you're enjoying it so far.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a story mode.
Yeah, there is a story mode, and the levels, I'm not really sure how the levels work. I think it's just pretend usernames in the story mode, but they're actually they're very interestingly designed, just like how it's very different than a normal standard 2D Mario game.
All right.
But you have like all the different, Super Mario, Super, I'm trying to think what all the different styles. You have 3D world style in there. So you have like the Cat Marios, the classic theme song from that game.
All right.
You have the new Super Mario Bros. Games. You have Mario World, and you have like the original Mario, and then maybe Super Mario Brothers 3. Yeah.
That's in there too.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
All right, I think that's similar to the first one.
Yeah.
But not the Cat Mario stuff. I don't think that's in there.
Yeah, they basically took the 3D world games or the 3D world game, and they made it like 2D, but you still have like a 3D backdrop in a way. It's pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So that's been a lot of fun, and I've still been kind of chipping away at Breath of the Wild. So
still playing that game.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, you're doing the Master Mode? Is that what it's called?
I think it's called. I called it like, I was listening back to our other podcast. I called it like 5 different things.
Oh my God.
So
Master Quest is what they called Ocarina of Time. I would have looked it up if I knew this would come up today, but
I think it's Master Mode. I think that's
Master Mode. Yeah, because they combined Master Quest and Hero Mode.
Yeah, see, I called it Hero Mode originally. Then you referred to it as Hero Mode. Then I corrected you as like Master Mode. So basically, I corrected you for what I said originally. I basically corrected myself through you.
Oh my God.
So it was yeah.
Anyway, you're playing the non-vanilla. You're playing the more difficult version of the playthrough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's still been fun. It's definitely not something I'm trying to hurry up and finish. I'm just trying to take my time whenever I feel like playing it, and it's been pretty enjoyable.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
As challenging as it is, I mean, you're kind of forced to do that, aren't you?
Yeah. You really. I mean, it's weird. I honestly feel like I'm getting through this one at a quicker pace. I'm going to, location to location quicker than I was the other ones, just because I'm not stopping and fighting things anymore.
Yeah, you're just running.
Yeah, so it's kind of a quicker way to play through it in a way, but there are just some instances where you have to kill certain things, and I am just really struggling at that part because I don't have weapons that last long enough, and I just can't get them down quick enough.
That's oh man,
So it's tough. It is very tough.
but it's still fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, definitely enjoyable. Just moving around in that game is a lot of fun. So everything else just kind of falls into place. What have you been playing? Same?
Yeah, same stuff. I did buy Dark Souls Remastered on PS4.
Oh, you did?
It went on sale for 40%. Don't worry, Cal. I'm still going to play the Switch version. Yeah, so I'm wanting to buy that for a while just to see what it's like on PS4. It is 60 frames per second, and it does sound better too.
Yeah.
Something about that I guess that's 30 frames per second on the Switch. I kind of like a little bit better. That may make me sound weird, but I kind of like the realistic Dark Souls 3 30 frames per second. I think that's what it is on the PS4. So Dark Souls 2 Scholar and this one look very smooth. I think Dark Souls seems to do it a little bit better, but I am liking it so far. So it's a new game. I haven't done another build in Dark Souls or Dark Souls 3. This will be the first time doing that since I made a Bloodtinge character in Bloodborne. So I haven't really gone through Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 1 with a new character. This will be the first time doing that. Right away, I mean, I'm like, this is amazing. And I only gone through Undead Burg, one of the very, very early areas of the game. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is just fantastic. Because I know what's coming. I just beat Tauros Demon up on the wall. I played him on the night that I got it. I died to him like 4 times, and it got late. So I'm like, I'm going to bed. I can't do this. It's impossible. I didn't think that, but I was just like, this isn't going to work. I got to go to sleep. And the next night, I beat him on the first try. Instead of like being directly under him, I would like let him swing, and I'd come back in, kind of, and then go back out. He would swing his demon axe, whatever it is, and I go back in. So it's pretty fun. Just met up with Solaire. See what I'm trying to do in this game. I didn't, there's no trophies on the Switch. There's no achievements or anything.
Yeah.
This game, I'm going to try to follow a guide. Like, what can I do to expedite, or at least not miss anything?
Yeah.
That's actually what I did with Dark Souls 3, the second playthrough, because I had missed almost everything in that game when it comes to side quests.
Yeah.
The first playthrough. I do not want to do the same thing with Dark Souls 1 the second time around, so that's why I have a guide up.
Okay.
I'm not going to spend time doing covenants and all that stuff on Dark Souls Switch because I am a strength guy instead of like a miracle user.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably will do the same thing with PS4 DSR, but I don't want to miss anything, and I do want to see a platinum trophy at least eventually. I guess you have to get all like the unique weapons, which I've been reading is a kind of a pain in the butt. So you need to go through at least 2.5 playthroughs, I think, which I think is pretty standard. But you have to get all the rare drop items, and you have to cut tails off of some of the bosses.
Yeah.
That one red dragon, people who the Hellkite Drake, whatever it's called, right before Undead Parish. I had just done that like a week ago. Level 100 on the Switch. It was still a pain in the butt, but I did do it. Probably I'll wait until some areas in Dark Souls 1 that I'll wait until I'm stronger, even though they're fairly early in the game to progress, including getting that sword off of the Hellkite Drake and maybe a few other things. But it is definitely fun. I'm excited to go through it again. Really, I just bought it just to have another medium to help people with.
Yeah.
Reddit's got a lot of subreddits that have to do with helping others, including Summon Sign. So that's I want to help people on there with not just Switch and PS3, but DSR on PS4 as well. So
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting that level. Long way to go though. Like I said, only maybe 2 hours into the game. Also been playing Rocket League. There's that spike mode. Have you guys tried that yet?
Yeah, we did. I think it was on Monday we tried that out.
You and John did?
Yeah.
So how do you like, you get the spikes, and it seems to me it's that, I'm not sure if it's every time you go to the old-fashioned stadium where the nets are not in the wall.
I think it is every time.
What do you think of when you get spikes, you lose all your boost automatically?
I honestly think it's way better just because you have to be a little bit more strategic with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you also can get pretty creative. If you have your spikes and you do a flip, you can release your spikes and kind of go back into normal Rocket League mode for a split second before you regain. But if you're flipping in the air, your momentum will carry that ball if you time it right.
Right.
So I actually like it. I think it'd be kind of dumb if you just had like your max boost and you're just,
Agreed. It'd be too easy. It would just be goal, goal, goal. They do a really good job. So what I was doing, well, I was trying to stay alive. Oh, another thing is you pretty much, if you have the ball, if you have spikes and the ball's attached to you, I think you're insta-killed.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which is really interesting because that just makes it more exciting because spikes are essentially OP and as long as the ball lands on you in Rumble.
Yeah.
But in this, they definitely limit it, and I think it's pretty interesting. I liked it. I didn't even play the other mode, that Ghost Hunt mode or whatever it was called.
It wasn't worth playing, honestly, at least in my opinion.
Well, this one just seems to be more interesting. I mean, what I was doing was trying to, ride up the wall with as little momentum as I had and get to the ceiling, so I'm like upside down with the ball underneath me, if you can kind of visualize what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then just kind of release it as I'm like moving towards the goal.
Yeah.
So me and the ball kind of fall at the same time. There's actually a really good way to score.
Okay.
A very simple way to score.
I didn't try that.
Get up on the wall, get on the ceiling so you're falling, and then as you have that kind of forward momentum and falling, right? As Buzz Lightyear once said, falling with style. So you just release the ball once you kind of get gravity working on you.
Okay.
And if you have any sort of accuracy, it's really hard to aim, in my opinion. But you do get better at it, like anything else, with practice. You let it go, you can score fairly easily. It's pretty wild. So
yeah, I didn't try that. I didn't try that method out. But I was playing with someone that was incredibly good at just juking normally. Very good. And we just couldn't stop him. Like, it was. I think that the whole thing without having the boost, I think it's a lot better because it kind of like promotes you trying to get more creative with how you're going to score and how you're going to advance the ball. So I think that it was very interesting also that they finally included a feature that has been available in custom matches for a really long time, which is the contact destruction, which is I think is pretty neat. So I think they did a really good job. It seemed to me that the other mode that they did with the Ghostbusters, it was well thought out, but I feel like this one though just kind of takes it up a few notches in terms of like the thought process and going into designing that.
I mean, everybody likes the spikes, right?
Yeah,
I mean, everybody likes spikes. So to build one around the popular Rumble power up, it just kind of works. It's interesting.
Yeah,
you're very vulnerable, and sometimes you can be immobilized if the spikes. The ball could be right in front of you, but it's not flat on the ground.
Yeah.
So you actually can't move. You'll probably die within like a second because you're just kind of like parked on your wheels there, or like on the back bumper. So yeah, this one is like, I think more people are kind of used to it. Spikes, trying to get under it and all that.
Yeah.
Work a little bit on your, like you said, juking. So like kind of spike dribbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just more. It's closer to what people are used to, I guess.
Yeah.
It's it's a better power up than Magnet, which I guess more or less is what Ghost Hunt was about.
I guess, yeah. So I'm guessing they're kind of going through and taking those Rumble power ups and building entire games around them.
Kind of like that. I wish I had played Ghost Hunt at least once just to see how it compares to that Magnet. That's just what it seemed to me when I see images of it.
It feels very similar now that I'm thinking back on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But it's more, you have to use your teammate to kind of suspend the ball.
I think so. It's kind of been a while since I've played it, but the way I remembered it was you went into like that little zone in front of the goal, and you had to hold it there for like
2 seconds.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But I think it was somewhat similar to drop shot in a way where you had to make contact with the ball in order for it to go in.
Okay.
So it had to be. I could be completely wrong, but I think it had to be your color in order for it to process. So, yeah, I don't know. But I think the spike mode, though, is definitely a lot more intriguing. It kind of, in a way, feels like Rocket League football, like a really basic version of football. Obviously American football. That's what I'm talking about. Just because of the physical nature of it, and there's a big element to playing physical.
Yeah, and you're carrying the ball.
Yeah,
you're carrying the rock, as we say in football.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I compare it to.
I didn't really think about it like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I personally really like it, though. I think it's a really good concept, and I think they did a really good job in, just the whole entire thought behind it. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. They did a good job.
So that's probably a mode that I'd be interested in playing for a while because, I feel like all of these modes that they've created throughout the years offer a really, interesting and fresh spin on their formula. And it's just cool how they're able to take this game and it's, very simple, in concept, but then they are able to branch it off. So it's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if this one will stick around. I imagine they'll have data, like how many people played it and how many people stayed playing it, right? Let's say 10,000 people were on it like the first day, and then like after 6 weeks or however long they're having this for, it was like 9,000. Like, wow, people who started playing this kind of stayed there, or just see how the level had fluctuated between day 1 and day, 30, whatever it is, or 60, or something like that.
Yeah.
I imagine that this one is. I'm just guessing this one's higher. People have played it more and have stayed playing it longer than Ghost Hunt, and I wonder if they're looking at that. It's like, hey, let's make this more permanent.
Yeah.
There isn't that many people that play Rocket League. All right, maybe there's like 100,000 or so, maybe 200,000. I can't remember. So they can't just like put all of these game modes and split up the base, because then there'll be less people doing the more important things like competitive, standard, etc.
Yeah.
So I wonder what they'll do. They may indeed just be temporary, but this one, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think it has
keep it around.
Staying power.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make it a. Who knows? They probably have at least one more before the summer's out. One more of these just temporary game modes. And I wonder if they'll just pick the popular one and make it a competitive series like Rumble, like Snow Day, like Hoops. Who knows? We may. Best is yet to come. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, they could come up with something even better. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with next, because it does seem like, now that you mentioned it, it does seem like they are kind of picking Rumble elements and including them into, more of a almost competitive like game. So it's going to be cool.
Yep.
I think it's going to be really neat. So that was pretty much all that I was up to this past weekend, and throughout the week. Haven't really had a ton of time to play games, just been tired from work and all that. So haven't really been doing a ton of that. However, we do have some news today before we get into our main topic. And that was that Wednesday morning, which at the time of recording this episode was yesterday, Nintendo held a early morning Nintendo Direct, and they revealed that they were going to be releasing a smaller version of the Switch called the Nintendo Switch Lite. This was long rumored. We heard about this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before E3, after E3, just all that good stuff. Nintendo came out and said they weren't going to be releasing new hardware this year, which I always looked at as them basically saying, we're not going to be releasing a successor to the Switch, but a SKU to the Switch is not necessarily, brand new next generation hardware. It's just a revision or a different take on what they currently have. So, have you seen any images of the Switch Mini at all?
Yep. It's just a Switch without the Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much, yeah. So I guess the official little rundown is that it's going to release on September 20th. It's going to release alongside Pokemon, so there's going to be a special Pokemon edition to it. It has the two legendaries that, for the life of me, I cannot remember their names.
Sif and Shield Doggo.
Okay, that sounds good. So they're going to be the features there. It's going to be kind of like a really light gray, maybe white Switch with different colored buttons. Looks really nice, actually. The face button side kind of reminds me of an original Game Boy in terms of its color style, which it's why didn't you guys show off an original Game Boy style? But it's also going to be releasing in non-special edition colors, which would be yellow, turquoise, and people are saying gray. It looks more black to me, but I'll have to see it in person before I can really, officially say it. It is going to feature a 5.5 inch display. It's going to be the same resolution as the current Switch. and that is down from the 6.2-inch display of the original. It's a smaller overall body because everything is just molded together. There's no detachable Joy-Cons, which unfortunately means that there's not going to be any HD rumble, which I personally don't care too much about anyway. And there's not going to be any IR because the IR sensor was built into the Joy-Con. If you look at the display, there's also no longer a sensor. So while you can still adjust the brightness on the Switch Lite, you're not going to have an automatic sensor similar to like what, smartphones have or what the original Switch had, where it can detect, I guess, the lighting of the current room and it'll adjust accordingly. So it's a little bit easier on your eyes. This is not going to have that, I guess, to save space. The other thing that this thing is going to feature is a slightly better battery despite it being smaller. Makes sense because it is a smaller screen that it's powering, and it's not supporting I guess it's not having a constant connection to two separate controllers. So makes a little bit of sense. It's going to feature a true directional pad, which I thought was pretty cool for classic games. It's, pretty neat. I'm not a big fan of how the normal Switch has like that button, layout there. But
I can't even picture it because I never use those buttons. I don't even use the Joy-Cons.
That's right. Yeah, you use the Pro Controller all the time. Yeah, it's so basically the whole Switch concept was, the D-pad is going to be separated in the same button layout as like the normal face buttons. That way,
buttons, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they need to bring back the old OG DS D-pad, right? That's the clicky D-pad.
I like that is my favorite D-pad of all time.
Not the mushy GBA.
And the DS Lite and the Wiimote, awful. They used the same D-pad. They sucked.
Thumb killers.
Well, because plus they would like shift. So when you press them, it was like, I don't know. I hated that.
Right.
That sucked.
Nothing was better than the Genesis D-pad, which honestly, if you think back, wasn't even a D-pad. It was like a joystick pad that moved in directions.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That was
angles,
horrendous.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it did. It had moved. Up and down, left and right, and all the diagonal directions.
Yeah.
I think.
It's very bizarre, actually.
Yeah, I don't even know how it worked now.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they were making controllers back then.
Who knows?
I think Nintendo might have had the only.
Yeah, and that little joystick, I can't believe more didn't break. You ever?
God!
You've heard. I mean, do we have a? Well, there's Nintendo 64 controllers.
Oh, it's awful.
You go into Genesis and they go over that. I'm like, what? Or better yet, right? We had a PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
So they have those nice. Everybody likes the PlayStation controller, right?
Yeah.
I certainly do. And when I went back to an N64 controller, I'm like, what the hell is with this analog stick?
It's so bad.
It's like, what is going on here?
It's not.
I feel like
it
I'm
doesn't
break
feel like an analog stick.
It is. You're right. It's like, I don't even know if that's considered an analog stick.
I think it still technically is, but there has to be something different with that mechanism because it does not feel right.
Right. You get that nice smooth type of analog stick for PlayStation. You go back to that, like, what the hell were they thinking
what is
with
this?
Yeah.
It was a big feature back then somehow, but yeah, I honestly don't know. But it does make sense for them to include a directional pad on this one, which I'm hoping it's the clicky one, but I'm probably not going to get this anyway. But it makes sense for them to do that because the Switch, they designed that controller so you can slide it off and both players can use a full set of face buttons and the analog stick. This one's not like that, so it makes sense to have a D-pad on there because you're, realistically going to be the only one able to control the system. So there's really no need to not have like a dedicated D-pad on there. And just for a note, Nintendo said they have no plans of adding a D-pad to the Joy-Con at any point in time. So who knows? Maybe the Switch Pro will get a D-pad.
Oh boy.
Which I mean is not a huge deal. There are third-party options for that, but I mean, most of the time for most games that I have on Switch, I'm using analog sticks anyway, so it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. It is apparently going to have a more efficient chipset, so a more efficient processor than the current Switch, which I'm assuming just because the Switch, the current chip that the Switch is using is a little bit outdated now, and they probably don't even really utilize those chips anymore. because there actually is a note here that Nintendo has apparently submitted a Class 2 permission change to the FCC for a new processor and flash storage chips to the original model. So the original model is most likely, Nintendo declined to comment to The Verge on this report, but Nintendo is probably going to quietly switch over to a different chipset for their current models, which doesn't really go against things that they've done in the past, like the whole 3DS, the new 3DS XL screens. Some of them were better than the other ones. It kind of happens all the time with this kind of stuff. But going back to the Switch Mini, it's kind of been getting some weird, I guess, reaction to some people. I think people don't really understand the purpose of it because it's going to be limited in terms of how you use it, where some games that require you to play on the TV aren't going to work on the Switch Mini. But I don't think you're actually going to even be able to purchase those games on the eShop. I think you get a notification saying that your Switch model is not compatible. So they're going to have clear-cut things, but most games are compatible with handheld mode anyway, so it's not really going to matter too much.
I guess.
But it's also important to note this is $100 cheaper, and this isn't the first time Nintendo has made a revision to their system that had less features. If you think back, Nintendo made the 2DS, which was a 3DS without 3D. Yeah. It didn't fold. At least the first one didn't fold. I don't believe there was any way to turn the Wi-Fi off on it, so I mean, they were pretty much stuck with that. I mean, that was...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was pretty much
silly.
it. Yeah, they... It was also a lot cheaper. I mean, that one was, I think, maybe $99 or $79.
Yeah.
So that was like
smaller
really...
screens, yeah.
Yeah, back to like the original 3DS screens. And, you know, people still took to it, but it was kind of a model for younger kids. It was a more affordable option. And that's basically what this Switch is. It's a more affordable option for people that don't have $300 to shell out, and then, you know, the whole Joy-Con thing and all that other stuff, all the different accessories that you need. Now I did go ahead and get some comments from some people on Twitter, and this was actually a thought that I had too, and this is at Parasite Demon. Not too sure why the Switch Lite completely removed the ability to play on the TV. To me, it would be perfect for a household that already has a Switch. No need to buy a second full system with a dock. It would honestly be the perfect little sibling console. I guess I feel like this Switch Mini would have made more sense to me. It still makes sense to me. I think I have no problems with it. But I think that if they had this, you know, support dock play, I feel like it would kind of make a little bit more sense for Nintendo, because you could just not package a dock with it because it's a handheld primarily only system, but still feature the ability to do that. Because I feel like in many ways the whole Switch name, and obviously at this point Switch is now the platform name, it's not just the functionality of the system, but I feel like it just makes more sense to still have that ability, and you can just charge for a dock separate, or have a specialized dock that they can choose to buy separately. I think that would have made a little bit more sense.
I guess. I mean, the dock pretty much puts a regular Switch's screen up on the TV. I mean, anything else it does is just charge it. So I don't really know what practical purposes a dock would have for a Switch Lite if it's not going to be displayed on the screen anyway.
Well, what I mean is that I think that they still should have kept that function. They should have still kept the ability to put it on the TV.
Yeah.
But just make people buy a specialized dock separate.
Okay.
Because that way, if people like want to get the cheaper Switch, but then they want the smaller size, it's primarily going to be for handheld use. But later on, if they want to, put it on the TV, I think it would be a good option just to, have that ability available to people that want to shell out the extra money.
Okay. And you would use a controller like the Pro Controller.
Yeah. Because I think the Pro Controller and Joy-Con still both support this, but they don't consider it tabletop mode anymore because there's no kickstand. So,
oh my God, this just seems kind of dumb to me.
Like,
I mean, it seems like a handheld thing. It's
Yeah.
a handheld system.
So basically, that's kind of what the purpose is. So it's essentially going to take the 3DS's spot. Nintendo said that they're going to continue to support 3DS as long as there's demand for the systems. It's still selling. People are still buying it. There's a huge backlog of those games, massive catalog. But this is kind of going to take away, I think, the market for the 3DS because now they have a cheaper, almost like a dedicated handheld version of the Switch.
I wonder if it's going to be lighter. The pounds are actually less than
It actually is.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, the 3DS?
Yeah, 3DS.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I mean, it might be.
You're not going to play. You're not going to. You're going to buy the library. You're going to get a system for the library. So it's not as if a 3DS. It's gonna wind up obsolete anyway. If you want to play newer games, you're going to have to upgrade.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll. I don't know. If 3DS is still popular, I don't think this system is going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
It is less expensive. I don't know.
I guess it's kind of like an incentive almost for people that have had the 3DS for a while but don't have, I guess, the necessary funds to get a Switch. This kind of brings it closer to their price range, and it kind of gives them a way to upgrade in terms of like a handheld system in a way.
All right. When I used to play 3DS, I used to lay down on the bed and kind of have it like reading a book, right? You kind of have the book above you.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking you could do the same thing with the Switch Lite. It'd probably be comparable in weight to a 3DS XL, I guess.
Yeah, I think it probably would be. I think it's I don't know how big it is. Like if you were to open the 3DS, I don't know how much bigger or smaller it is, but it does kind of offer another option to people that generally just play in handheld mode and they wanted kind of a smaller system to take with them.
Yeah.
To me, I wouldn't want to sacrifice the screen size. I mainly play mine in handheld mode, but I don't know. I like having the biggest screen possible for, what I'm playing. So
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd want to sacrifice that, but yeah, it seems like a lot of people are a little bit confused with it, but to me, I think it kind of falls into like a certain market that I think is going to take to it, that didn't necessarily take to the Switch or was unable to financially to get in there.
Now, like you said that they're going to pair this with Pokemon, which
Yep.
has generally younger audiences, or maybe the audience that stuck with it for 20 years.
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah. Of course, there's also a big exodus, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
This may increase sales a little bit. Of course, I don't really want that game to sell well, so maybe I should be against this Lite. But if it works for people, great.
Yeah. And at Lappin' the Rabbit, I really like and kind of want a Switch Lite, but I can't tell if that's the right opinion to have. Then again, I actually really like the original 2DS, and I'm a big portable gamer person, so yeah, I'm definitely on the wrong side, which I don't think is really the way to look at it. I think that, if this fits your, style, I mean, heck, go for it. It's not really, super serious. It's just, you can have fun with it. And I just saw like a few other people, they commented, things like, how is it the Switch anymore if you're not really switching anything? So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But once again, though, I mean, it kind of...
click. Where's the click?
Yeah, where's the click? Well, now it's in terms of like a light bulb now, so I don't think that's an actual thing.
Oh, my God. That's actually really smart.
Yeah.
Switch Lite. Yeah. And it just gets brighter.
Someone said it should be called the Nintendo Switchless, which I thought was pretty funny.
Okay. I can see that.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Switch Lite. I think it's interesting. I think, honestly, aesthetically, I think it looks way better than the current Switch. But, I mean, the Switch is kind of almost like a Frankenstein type of, piece together system anyway.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff connected to each other.
But I think that kind of fits the appeal of it. I think, it looks unique, and I mean, I like the original Switch. I think this one is really cool looking, though. The colors look really nice. It looks like the build quality might be a little bit better. I think it is nice though that it does look like a premium product for, a lower price. So people that are getting it are still getting a really good product, it seems, which is awesome. Now, I do have a follow-up to a story we had in the last podcast, and that was that, let's see, the last podcast we talked about how Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony were basically fighting against a tariff that was going to increase, I guess, the prices on like game consoles, toys, and various other things, board games, coming out of China. It was going to increase that, and it would basically make them have to increase the prices of all their stuff. Apparently, the Trump administration has put a halt to the tariffs that would have impacted all of those things. So as of right now, they've basically are going to put that on hold, and I don't think it's going to be slated to. There's no like real time that it's slated to return or discussions to start up again. So basically all that stuff kind of got kicked to the side, and it's not really being talked about anymore. So I guess that's a good thing. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so we talked about that. Our official opinion on that was that it was bad and that they needed to stop it, and it looks like they have done just that. So
yeah, they'll probably bring it back once people have. I haven't been following this story, so that was surprising to hear.
Yeah.
It came and went fairly quietly, if you ask me.
Yeah. People have said it really just depends on a day and time. So now I guess we can get into the primary topic at hand, which is something you mentioned, I believe, in the next, or not in the next.
The previous podcast.
Yeah, if you mention it in the next, I mean, I have some kind of future powers that are pretty great. But you mentioned that we should do a video or not a video, a podcast on our best gaming accomplishments.
Yep.
Which I thought was very good. So I went ahead and stole that idea.
Very nice.
And all right, so I guess we can kind of just dive into this. So do you want to start like listing some or talking about some?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some the accomplishments that I'm fairly proud of. I was a big angry video game nerd fan. I think you were too.
Yeah.
A lot of people on YouTube got their inspiration from Angry Video Game Nerd, who's still making videos today. He inspired me to play a couple of games that, the shitty games that suck ass, right? Those are the games that he used to play. But there were some he played that were just simply difficult, not bad.
Yeah.
And I selected a couple to play. These are all, I think I played all these games I'll list off of here on the 3DS Virtual Console. They're all there, fairly cheap too. So I downloaded Zelda 2: The Adventure Link, Castlevania 1, the original NES Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, and Ninja Gaiden 2, and beat them all.
Wow.
So I don't really know. Like I thought it was pretty cool at the time because this is a game that he made videos of. They're really hard to beat and almost. Yeah. He made them seem like almost impossible in certain parts. I think he actually does beat Castlevania in his video, but I don't think he does Ninja Gaiden, and I don't think he even goes on about Ninja Gaiden 2. I could be wrong. But anyway, I thought these were really fun, especially Zelda 2: The Adventure Link. That game, I'm proud that I beat it, but I got a lot of clues from watching his video on it.
Yeah.
Like how you beat the final boss, you hang out in that corner, and you just while Dark Link does his thing. But it was my idea to farm the skulls early on.
Yeah.
To buff up all your health and sword and all that. Once I figured out what was going on, because you get to a certain part, you're like, my sword's not doing anything, and I'm dying in one hit. A lot of games are like that, but I figured because I think you get like 50 XP for hitting those skulls that are flying around in the first castle you get to, you level up fast. Unfortunately, it takes like 100 hits in the early going. But
I think he made a joke about that in the episode that he did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember that. I have to check that out again. It's one of my favorite of his videos. I think of the 4 of these that I beat, I guess Castlevania was probably the hardest, only because Ninja Gaiden was way more fun than Castlevania.
Okay.
I think the music in these games is very, very good. Castlevania probably is the best. Castlevania was really difficult. I think when I got to the Heart of Fire level, which is the level preceding Death, the Grim Reaper, that was like the hardest of the levels. That is what I died the most on, just because it was so long and all that. I felt like as soon as I had beaten Death, I think I spent less time on the boss than I did the whole level. I think when I had beaten the Grim Reaper with the cross, the spinning cross thing, you know about that right from Smash Brothers. Use the same thing. You get that power up somewhere in that level. That kind of like stays and spins, and it does a lot of health on the boss. So I was able to pass through that. I had a feeling I'd beat it once I had done that.
Yeah.
So those games, I remember them being really fun. Except Castlevania was not really all that enjoyable. I just wanted to say I could beat it.
Okay.
It really, that was a long time before I played games that were, there's a lot of time in between when I beat these games and when I started like Bloodborne.
Okay.
Almost like 10 years, like 5 years or something like that. Like it didn't like make me hungry for a challenge. It's like, oh my God, this is finally over. Especially for Castlevania. Like I said, Ninja Gaiden was amazing. Ninja Gaiden, this is Angry Video Game. James talks about this. He says, when you get to World 6, if you die in 6-3 or 6-4, you go back to 6-1. That's like the only level of the game you do it. I think you can actually collect the special counter where you can use the special items you can collect. And I had collected, I don't know if it was Shoryukens or something, now that I think of it, but I collected all this value of of times you could use your special ability. And whatever weapon I had, I would just use on the final boss and just mow him down. It's kind of like Pitfall Harry when you're at the final boss, and you don't use any of the exploding rocks the whole game. That's Pitfall Adventure, whatever that is on a Genesis.
I think it's
the new
New Adventures of Pitfall Harry.
Something else.
I don't know what
Pitfall.
it is.
Yeah, New Adventures. I think that's New Adventures of Pac-Man. Anyway, the thing is, you store all that stuff up and use it like boom, 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 and just kind of blow up the boss. Almost kind of like a cheese the boss instead of swing your sword at him.
I wouldn't know. I never made it past the first level on that game.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. When you get good at that, that's very fun. You got like wall jumping, and it's fairly fast paced and all that.
Yeah,
it's really good. So that's how I'd like to start off the accomplishment list. Do you have some, or can I keep going?
I guess I can go ahead and throw in my first one here. I tried to get these in terms of like order, and this first game that I had on here was Star Wars Pod Racer. I remember the first time I was really disappointed about losing a race, and this might be honestly one of my first like racing games now that I'm thinking about it. And the first one that I felt really good, like I really accomplished something after beating. I can't remember what the pod race was. I should have researched that. But the pod racer that I beat was Toy Dampener.
Toy Dampener.
He had it was kind of like the white and black, almost like zebra like pod racer.
I know what you're talking about. That's an early race.
Very early race.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to take away from what you're saying, because this game is impossible.
It's very hard.
If you do it today, I don't know how people played it on a PlayStation.
No.
You certainly can't do it on a keyboard.
No.
I mean, I can't.
No.
We had a joystick with the Dell computer.
Yeah, we had
and that was pretty damn fun.
Yeah.
But unless you have that set up, that game is literally impossible. You go way too fast. The turns are way too tight.
Oh, God.
But I'm going to look up that, Cal. You keep going about that toy Detmer, is that what it is?
Toy Dampener. So Dampner.
Okay.
So that was one that he kept beating me like over and over again. I was having a hard time, but eventually I was able to beat him, and that clicked. So that was just, it felt like a really big accomplishment for me, because that was really the first racing game I ever played, and that was the first racer that I beat. Now, besides Toy Dampener, obviously Sebulba was very fun to unlock, because what is it, the Boonta Eve? Is that the
Boonta Eve? You have that early one which is very short.
Oh yeah, not that one.
And then I think the big one is the Boonta Eve Classic.
Yeah,
which is very challenging.
Yeah.
But kind of by the numbers as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Nothing too. This is kind of hard to talk and search at the same time. But what were you saying about the Boonta Eve?
So the Boonta Eve Classic was a lot of fun because there's so many different segments of that race, and there's so many different ways that you can like mess up. You have like those like fire things that shoot up from the ground.
Yes.
You're playing against Sebulba, who also has his like little fire ability that he can shoot out the side of his pod racer.
Right, and that always worked better for the CPU than it did for the player, by the way.
Yeah, it was impossible to use as the player. But it was a lot of fun, and just because that was the track that you see in the movie, beating that was kind of like the first like hard track that I was able to beat. So that one kind of stands out to me as one that is kind of a big deal to beat because that was like a more advanced track. Like that was kind of tough.
And this was the big one you're talking about,
yeah,
right?
the big one. Yeah, it was like divided in segments, which was really neat.
Yeah.
The other pod racers here that kind of stuck out to me that were kind of hard to unlock, Neva Key, which I think I had a hard time unlocking him. And then the one that I think stumped me the most, except for Arc Bumpy Roos.
George Lucas is an absolute genius.
Fuck that track.
Wait, which one is this again that you're saying F that track on?
Arc Bumpy Roos. It's when you're in like the air areas.
Arc Bumpy Roos.
And
I gotta look up a picture of this guy. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Arc Bumpy Roos. Are you sure about this? Where you're up in the air?
Oh, you know what? I think I'm wrong.
I think you're thinking about somebody else. Are you talking about the Abyss level?
Yes. That freaking Abyss level.
All right, so you remember the Abyss level well then, right?
Yeah, you have like two different layers, right? The top layer is super fast. The bottom one, you fall so far behind if you fall down, but it's so hard to stay up on that track.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about. That is the Abyss. I forget what the world it's on. Mongaza? Malistaire? It's not Malistaire.
And
Aruba?
Apologies to Arc Bumpy Roos, by the way. I did not mean to.
I mean, he's probably an asshole too.
I'm sure they all are.
I cannot remember that guy's name. Oh my god! And of course, what I'm looking up does not have pictures. He was a blue guy.
Yeah,
he was blue. He had the color blue, but not Ebby Endicott. Wait, who's actually? I think Ebby Endicott had the blue pod racer.
Yeah, and he had the snow level, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's one of the early snow levels. So did you ever beat the Abyss level?
No, that was the one track I never beat.
Yeah, that is very. I mean, it pushes. I can't believe I can't find this. I'm gonna actually Google Star Wars Pod Racer the Abyss and figure out what that. You never really hear about this, but that is unbelievably difficult.
It's very hard.
Abyss track, is it broken?
It kind of is.
It is such bullshit, that level.
I know, and it doesn't match.
You got to do it 3 times. I don't know why I'm having trouble finding this out. The Abyss, this is from the fandom wiki. The Abyss was a pod racing course on Ord Ibana. And the second race at the Invitational Pod Racing Circuit. The Invitational Pod Racing Circuit are those 4 extra tracks after the 3 main series.
Okay.
Like the Boonta Eve Classic, the Long Boonta Eve, I think is the last one of the 3rd main series,
okay.
right? That's why it's by the numbers, but you have such good memories of it because it is a very thorough and well thought out track. These are kind of bullshit, but you can, I guess that is Bozzy Baranta.
Oh, is that who that is?
I think that is Bozzy Baranta. Yeah, it's Bozzy Baranta. You see that on my computer there? Bozzy Baranta.
My God. He is there. Those characters are freaking ugly as shit.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. There's no, yeah.
They're not cute at all. Like Neva Key, like I remember we thought, oh, look at his little head.
That's right. You see him. He's, oh, God, I got to look a picture of this guy.
Oh, God, he is disturbing.
The thing about Neva Key is his pod racer didn't have the cables, and it was absolutely a blast to play. So you can't, I mean, the guy had good taste in pod race, in his racer. He had great taste.
That was very cool.
Neva Key.
I just remember, I think Emmy made a song about him.
Oh man, we played the hell out of that game.
Oh yeah, we definitely did.
But damn, if it doesn't, I'll tell you what. I mean, this is very hard to go back to.
Yeah,
the Gauntlet. The Inferno was fun. That was Ben Quadraneros.
Ben Quadraneros was pretty darn cool.
He's obviously a loser, right, in episode 1, just like most of the characters.
Yeah.
But that racer, if I remember doing that, he's got the four
Yeah.
engines. That pod racer was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was.
It was fast as shit.
Very
it was also
delicate though.
Very delicate and very hard to control.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite racer? It's probably just Anakin, right? You know.
My favorite racer was Mars Guo because he had a big pod racer.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think if you look at the back of those engines, they got like 8, like almost like octagons type of way. Like it's got like a whole bunch of things sticking out of the engines.
I think so. Yeah.
I liked. I don't really remember. Neva Key was up there. That's the one. You know, I remember that one so clearly. And of course, Sebulba's is kind of iconic too, with that big V, those V's on the side there, and they can blow fire out there. Although it doesn't work as much as the CPUs does.
Yeah, he had a cool pod racer. The one pod racer that I thought was the most difficult for me to beat, just for I don't know why. I think just because his pod racer was so fast, was Slide Paramita, who was also, I believe, a snow level as well.
Slide Paramita.
Yeah. Yeah, he had that really tiny yellow pod racer that was kind of similar to Anakin's, but only a little bit thinner.
Yeah, I don't really remember that too much.
I think squared off front ends. Yeah, he had some kind of weird pattern on his rockets, but that was very difficult. That took me a lot of tries. I think I actually had to use Neva Key to beat that one.
Okay. I wonder if Neva Key, once you get him, is like almost like easy mode in a way.
Well, I think you can upgrade your pod races or your pod racers,
you can,
right?
Yeah, you can earn money. We were very young when we played that game, so we probably didn't play it as well as we could have.
Yeah.
You can probably say that for a lot of games. But yeah, I don't even know. Yeah. There was that one time where I think we were trying to upgrade the engines just to make it faster, and then the next time you went there, like all the numbers were down. I don't know why that happened.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either. But Neva Key, that was a very easy control pod racer.
Yeah.
Neva Keys.
Probably one of the smaller ones, I'm thinking.
Probably smaller, and I think it had more, you kind of had like, see, the thing about the other pod racers, you kind of have like that effect, like a swinging effect.
Yeah.
Where Neva Keys is much more like quick to react up and down.
Yeah, I think so.
Just easier to kind of have control over.
Yeah, the physics felt a little bit different with his just because of he's not really being held on by cables.
Yeah.
Where like the other pod racers were mostly held on by like those power cables. Where this one was machined in. I mean, his cockpit was ahead of the engines, and like the connectors were like actual chunks of like machinery. Like that's how they were all.
Right.
So I imagine his pod racer was probably maybe a little more aerodynamic. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't know if any of these are really aerodynamic.
Who knows at this point?
But yeah, so those are kind of the ones that I took a lot of pride in when I beat them. Super young. Those were tough, but I just kind of kept at it and was able to beat it. So I considered that a personal win.
Yeah, when you ever get back to it, you can try beating the Abyss now that you're older, and just add that to your list, I suppose.
That is like my biggest failure, not being able to beat that damn track. Because you beat that track.
I beat it a whole bunch of times, but
I
it was
couldn't
one of
do
those
it.
things where I got good at it, and then you'd go back like a few months later and try it. I'm like, how did I ever do this?
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Right in the beginning of that track, you have to almost be last for a little bit and make gains.
Yeah.
Because you have to make that at least twice, if I recall. I think you can survive and get, because the whole point is to win, right?
Yeah.
I think you can win if you at least don't fall off that top track twice.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to do it 3 times. If you do it only once, you're going to wind up in like last place. But 2, I think you can actually win, if I'm not mistaken. It's difficult, but I think it's possible.
I think I survived on the first 2 laps. I got through clean. On the last lap, I fell down. And I ended up losing.
That makes sense. Like I said, I think it's possible, but yeah, you're messed up. You automatically go to the back of the pack if you fall down there.
It's probably better to fall from the first lap than the last lap. At least you have time to make amends.
Yeah, what I used to do was if I fell down, I would restart the track.
That's what I started doing. Yeah,
I would restart immediately.
That actually might be my first ever time where I freaked out at a game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. If you do it like 10 times in a row, and each freaking time, and you're trying your best to stay on there, and you just get bumped with all like the crazy ass car. I mean, there's like 12 of you on like this thing that's it's like I don't know, trying to balance on a dry piece of spaghetti. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just unbelievably
It's
wishy-washy, kind of loose controls that you realize how bad it controls when you're on that on that track.
Not good at all.
Wow, this was really bringing up bad memories. Why'd
Yeah.
oh, well.
Yeah, it's yeah. So that was kind of my first gaming accomplishment there.
Okay. I think every podcast we've had is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I've mentioned Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I'm gonna, keep the tradition going. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a game I've played. I don't know if I've played it over and over again more than any other game, because Sonic is a game where once you finish it, you want to play it again. At least I do. And Mania, these games kind of suck, are very challenging. You don't know what's in front of you when you first play it a couple times, but you get better and better as you keep going. So I've played it so many times, I've had to come up with new challenges. Maybe 5 years ago, I'm like, hey, I never really used to perfect the special stage, the fourth special stage, I think it is, in Sonic and Knuckles, that half of the game, that second half of the game, where it's the yellow and blue squares and all the rings are in the star balls in the special stages. So what I decided to do, I'm like, I'm a big boy now. I'm going to try to perfect all these special stages. Perfect getting all the rings before you get the last blue sphere in all the stages. So I would not finish a playthrough. I would actually lose on purpose in the special stage if I could not perfect a single one, because I wanted to get that much better. And it's very difficult, at least starting out, to get all those rings in those that star bouncing star ring, because the game gets in those special stages, you go faster and faster as the longer you're in the special stage.
Yeah.
So you have to jump out of that area over the ball, over the star ball, and make a very quick turn to the right, not the left, but the right, in between the corners of the blue and yellow squares. So the game knows you're trying to turn right. You can't do it you can't do too late, or you're going to go straight instead. Too early, you'll turn on the star ball, and you go ging 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 ging. And if you try to turn around, you'll either go back, and this time you're going faster now, so it's even harder. And if you have too many red spheres in front of you, see, oh my God, I can go on and on about this. You would have to start the level, you'd go whoop, whoop, whoop. And within after turning 3 of the blue spheres red, you'd have to jump in there and get all the rings, jump out on the ball that was still blue in that same line of spheres, and do that 3 times, I think. And it would make particular jumps you'd have to make later in that same special stage harder now that you've spent more time in there and it's faster at that point. But I've done it every single time since I decided to do that. So that's one example about how I've tried to make Sonic 3 and Knuckles as many times as I played it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
More interesting. So there's other things I do too. Every time I play Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I try to get 999 rings in an act. So it's actually very easy to do in Flying Battery Zone 2 or Flying Battery Act 1. I don't remember. But there's this one playthrough where I got 999 rings in Marble Garden 2 without finishing the act. But then twice more. Launch Base 1 at the end of an act having 999 rings on the scorecard, and Flying Battery 2. So 3 times 999 rings. How do you do that? Well, you have to use and kind of keep in mind the amount of rings going into a star post for the glowing ball stage, where you leap from ball to ball.
Yeah.
If you do that, there's ring balls at the top of those glowing ball bonus stages, which are worth 80 rings. Ring balls that are worth 80 rings.
Wow.
And there's 2 of them. So if you get both to populate as not a one-up ball, but a ring ball, you can walk out of there with at least 160. That doesn't count all the rings you have gotten while you're working your way up through the glowing ball stage. It also doesn't count all the rings, ring boxes, big rings in the stage itself. So you do that. There's just a way you kind of, every 15 rings, I think, or I don't remember the math. I think, when you have 24 rings, you go in there, it's like casino night where you're doing the slot machine. When when you get 36 to 49 rings or 35 to 49 rings, ask Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or whatever, and you hit a star post, that's the glowing ball stage. When you get 50 to 64, that is the gumball stage.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a...
That's right.
Really? So that's how that determines where you go when you run past those posts.
That's right, yep. It goes all the way up to 999. I think I actually have a chart saved on my computer that I would look at from time to time, and it's easier to do when you're supersonic or hypersonic, because if you're like one ring above, you can activate hypersonic or supersonic, lose a ring, jump right into the special stage, jump right into the bonus stage if you're right by a star post.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I would keep in mind how many rings I had, where I am, where I am in that chart of which stage I'm going to get to based on what rings I had. I'm not sure what it is for 300. There's actually a kind of a pattern when you have like 300, 400 rings, which is fairly easy to get because the levels are so big. There's a lot of rings to get. So,
yeah.
So that was an accomplishment for me because I did this thing I wanted to keep trying, 999 rings. I just like seeing 999 rings on the
why
screen.
not?
And, sometimes it's easy to rely on supersonic or hypersonic. This is kind of like a goal for me to keep building up rings, because if you're spending time as supersonic or hypersonic, you're losing rings, not gaining rings.
Yeah.
So it kind of challenged me, hey, keep a shield on, definitely. And if you lose it, then become super hypersonic and find a star post when you're at the right number amount to get some more rings.
Yeah.
It's just a personal challenge. You don't get a 1-up for 300 rings, only 100 and 200, but it kept the game interesting for me.
Okay.
This one I do for Sonic 3 and Knuckles is even better, in my opinion. I guess this day, I like getting 99 lives as early as possible. I don't want to get to 99 lives by using that trick in Launch Base where you kind of spin dash in that, and that dive bomb bird keeps hitting you, and the dive bomb bird will actually build up your score. Eventually, you'll get 10,000 for each one. 50,000 is a 1-up. So every time, every 5 birds, when you build up that high, will give you 1-up. So I couldn't use that. I also do not die to get rings again and get the 1-ups in a stage.
Yeah.
Because if you die in Angel Island 2, there's a couple of 1-up boxes, and you can get 200 rings. So that's 4 lives. If you lose one, that's 3 lives. If you die again, that's 3 lives. So plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. I don't do anything like that. I just do essentially the same strategy of getting 200 rings in each act, or at least try to. That's very easy when you know when the big rings, where they are. You have to do the same strategy as 999 rings. You have to find the glowing ball stage.
Okay.
The glowing ball stage, you do want the big rings. You do want the ring balls at the top of the stage that give you 80. Those same ones, if they're not the 80 ring balls, they give you 1-ups. You can get 1-ups that way. You can also get 1-ups somewhat less consistently in any one of those bonus stages. Less consistent in the gumball stage because you run out of bumpers on the sides.
Okay.
So this one time was my record. I don't think it'd be very hard to beat it. 93 lives by the end of Carnival Night 2. That's the 4th act. That's the 4th zone, 8th act in Sonic 3. That's half of the game.
Yeah.
And my all-time goal, which I had never done before, I think it was like in June 2017, where I had 99 lives before the beginning of Ice Cap 2. 99 lives. You think of all these people who die, can't maintain this stuff. I was getting 99 lives by the end of Ice Cap 2.
Yeah.
The second act of the 5th zone in the game. It was always my goal to get 99 lives before Launch Base Zone, just because it was before there was even a risk of doing that whole dive bomb bird thing.
Yeah.
I had been trying to get 99 lives during Launch Base Zone without doing that, of course, without doing the dive bomb bird trick, because when you get to Sonic 3 Knuckles half the game, when you get to, you can't get more than 100 lives. You can't get more than 99 lives. It'll do like that glitchy thing. It'll glitch out. Like it'll have a big, when you see the number of lives at the bottom of the screen, it'll be like this big glitched out 0 and then a regular 0 right next to it. And then when you go to the next act, it's back to 99.
Oh,
that's
weird.
That's the significance of 99. Yeah, in one act, you can have like 110, but by the time you get to at least the next zone, maybe the next act, zone is the whole zone, and act is the two halves of the zone.
Yeah.
That's why 99 is important. But you restart at 99 every new zone, at least every new zone. So that to me, that's like almost peak performance. Just really diving in. Not, I always try to not die at all in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I just like making it race myself. How many can I get before it stops counting?
Yeah.
So that's really that's kind of like what I do for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I don't think too many people do that. Do you have anything else, Cal?
I have. Let me pull it up. I have. This one's kind of a strange one, and I'm not really sure why it is necessarily important. But I put beating Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King on PlayStation 2. That was a game that we all kind of pitched in to get after we helped some relatives move. We got $50 each, I think. So I think we ended up just like, I honestly don't really even remember what we ended up doing with that. I think we saved like 50. We kind of split it up in a way, but we all kind of pitched in and got ourselves like a game. I think we all got $50, I think.
Okay.
Unless they gave us like a shared $50, which like what the hell?
That'd be pretty lame.
Yeah.
I don't even remember this.
Yeah, so I
remember the game. I don't remember how we got it.
Yeah, because I remember prior to that day, I was playing NASCAR, I think Thunder 2002, I want to say, on the PlayStation 2. So I wanted to get a NASCAR game, but we were all really into Lord of the Rings during that time. So when we got home, we kind of all took turns playing it. I kind of don't miss those days when we all had to kind of just share a console.
Nobody does, yeah.
Like, it's like super lame. But the good part about that game is that we could play co-op, and it was actually a really fun game. I think really fondly back on that game. Definitely a different time era where movie games were actually fairly decent for a little while there. So it was kind of weird. But I just remember playing this game by myself and beating... I guess when you're at the Black Gate, that was significant. I felt like that was kind of more of a tough level in that game. So I thought that was really awesome. But then when I finally beat like Smeagol at the end, spoiler alert if you guys never seen Lord of the Rings in like the last like 20 years, I don't know when that movie came out. But no, I mean, when I beat Smeagol, I was like, holy crap, I just beat like a game. I feel like that actually might have been the first game that I actually like beat, like an actual campaign game that
start
I beat.
to finish. Yeah.
So I always looked at that like, as something that I was really proud of during that time, and that kind of gave me like more momentum and more interest in other games and completing other games, and actually playing through a game to its entirety, because all the other like games I played prior to that were either like sports games or I guess racing games or Sega Genesis games that I didn't really understand all that well. So this was definitely one of the games that I remember clearly beating like all the way through to completion and doing all the extra stuff at the end. So that just kind of came up to me.
If I'm not mistaken, I think all three of us could play that game at the same time, right?
For some reason, I thought it was only two at once.
I thought our sister could play as Legolas. I'd be like Gimli before we unlock Gandalf, and you'd be Aragorn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was that wrong?
Because I feel like the only way that we could play was with two, because we only had two controller slots on the PlayStation 2. So I feel like we like whenever it was like, I guess Legolas's turn to come on, I guess Emmy we would hand
it over to her.
I think
know.
so.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that was your first experience beating a game. I mean, I have fond memories of that game too. Gandalf was OP, so I would always make sure that I was him.
Yeah. Those huge light balls.
Exactly right. I liked his when he slams down his staff too into the ground. Just like when he's on the Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, I remember we had some cheat codes that we used to put on there for like I don't even remember what
I don't remember that either.
Oh, you had unlimited amount of like I guess your magic or arrow supply, depending on who you
Okay.
were.
Yeah.
So you could just keep going choo, 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 choo,
Yeah.
with your staff.
That was the real. Oh my god! I guess we played that whole game with cheats.
I know when I beat it, I did not use cheats. I can say.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good that you're honest with yourself.
I feel like that when we used the cheats, it was mainly for that one mission. Because I don't think you can use the cheats until you beat the game.
Okay.
I think that's when you're allowed to use the cheat codes. So I think you actually have to beat the game before you do that. I could be wrong, but we use the cheats for like that bonus stage where like you're kind of in that courtyard. It's like a big round circle, and enemies just keep spawning in.
Wow. I don't remember this. I remember we used to go pretty ham on that one level, like the wall of Minas Tirith.
Oh yeah, you could kind of knock the ladders down.
I don't even remember that. I just remember like if we were to lose in a level, that would be the one. I feel like that was easiest to get overrun at.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember firing
Yeah.
spells off in that one more than the other ones in the other levels.
Well, I remember probably my favorite memory from that game was when we were playing at the Black Gate. Like we were very close to beating it. I also like that a lot because Aragorn's wearing like his like king gear. But I remember we were playing that game and we paused it because Mom came home from I guess like maybe Target or something.
Right.
Walmart. I don't really know where she used to go. Maybe Toys R Us. And she brought us Lord of the Rings toys. So I remember she was kind of handing them out. We had like I guess like a Frodo that had like a glowing sword. We had I had Aragorn. Emmy had I guess Legolas, and I think you had I want to say one of the ring wraiths.
Maybe it was the Witch King.
Yeah, I think you did have the Witch King.
Okay.
I have no idea what happened to those toys, but they were pretty awesome. They were big action figures.
Yeah.
So I remember that like really clearly.
I think the one I had like a little clicky sword, like the
that's right. Yeah,
Morgul
yeah.
blade. You could click it in. It was pretty cool.
So I just remember her bringing that home while we were playing. So it was kind of neat. But yeah, definitely fond memories of that game. A lot of fun, very simple, just very enjoyable though. A lot of good combos, just an old fashioned hack and slash type game. Fun, very fun though.
Yeah, it was. I think that last level against Smeagol, you would actually have to be Frodo or Sam. Like the only time in the game where you had to play as Frodo or Sam. So all the leveling up you did, you're like level 1 playing Smeagol.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we really didn't play as them that much. I mean, I think you did play as them in the spider level. When you have to play against
spider level.
Yeah, I think you had to be Sam against Shelob.
Holy crap! I don't remember that at all.
Oh my god, it was awful. It was so bad.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it was terrible. And I think there were certain levels that I think you had to play as Sam. You didn't really play as Frodo that often unless you were playing co-op, if I remember correctly.
Wow, I don't. Okay.
But it's been such a long time. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Now that's a game that should remaster, but it's a Return of the King. I mean,
yeah, it's not really a critically acclaimed game. I'm not really sure.
People love that game though. I'm sure I've seen that mentioned before that people just go ape shit over that game.
Yeah, and I'm sure at some point we'll go back and we'll look at this game like in like its own thing.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like that is kind of a part of our history and our backlog. Or at least a previous game that we played.
Gaming history.
And I'm interested to go in and look at some of these games and just see how they were, critically, reviewed and all that. So I think that would be extremely interesting.
And how they play today, maybe.
Oh yeah. But yes, that was my one for that. Just beating that game, I thought that was kind of a big deal at the time.
I want to. I don't think we've gone through a podcast where I haven't mentioned one of the Soulsborne games. So I just want to keep the tradition going. Bloodborne. I don't even. I was pretty high level when I beat Bloodborne. New game +1 through all the way through +6. But I did do it. I had to survive each fight. I'm pretty proud of that. I platinumed it. Only I don't know 5 to 8% of players platinumed it. It's really not that hard to platinum in my opinion, especially when you get used to how it works and all that.
Yeah.
One of the things about it though, which I was proud of, just the Orphan of Cause, arguably the hardest boss in all of Soulsborne. In New Game Plus 5, I beat him without him going to the second phase. Second phase for Orphan of Cause is not automatic like Lawrence is. You get him down to 70%, he breaks in half and crawls around the stage. Orphan of Cause will eventually do it unless you keep him busy and maybe get a little lucky. So New Game Plus 5, second hardest way to play Orphan of Cause. The level you're at notwithstanding, I was able to be so effective with my parrying, with my handy-dandy Evelyn, that I was able to take him all the way to death without him going to the second phase. There's actually a few pictures I have saved on PlayStation with him frozen on the stage, because you're not supposed to do that. It glitches him out. He just stands there when he's dead, when he doesn't go to the second phase. And his little flappy things, I don't even know if you've ever seen this boss, Cal, or what he looks like, but he's kind of got like wings almost that kind of lay behind him. And if you do the gesture that you get from Eileen the Crow, where you kind of blow your cape back with your hands, his little wingy thing will react to that. So this guy is glitched out, more or less dead, but still standing upright. Your gesture there will affect him.
That's pretty funny.
I bring that up because it is, it's New Game Plus 5 or for Cause. You really do need to know what you're doing with a gun to skip that second phase. In a way, it's actually less impressive beating Orphan of Cause when you only do his first phase, because the second phase is way harder with much more HP than his first phase.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was just very effective that day. So I'm pretty proud of that. Also, I platinum Bloodborne and I platinum Sekiro, which may be even a better accomplishment. But just like any other game, the more you play it, the better you get at. So, I mean, anyone's capable of doing that if they put the time in. That's something I was really interested in doing, just to say I did. I do have more about Souls, Cal, but do you want to chime in with anything you have before I keep going?
You can keep going.
So, Dark Souls 1. I started out with Bloodborne, and then really liked that. So I went to Dark Souls 3, which I was told by a friend of mine was the most like Bloodborne of the Souls games. Played Dark Souls 3, really liked it, and decided to then play Dark Souls 1 on Switch. This game was the easiest of the three. I had learned a lot by playing New Game Plus 1 with a great shield in Dark Souls 3, and it being way easier than New Game in Dark Souls 3 when I was playing it like Bloodborne. So what I wanted to do when I started playing Dark Souls was to, as soon as possible, find a great shield. And after realizing most of these enemies just stand around when you compare it to Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3, I wanted a big-ass weapon to swing when they were done their attack sequence. And I think when I got to Blighttown, I think I found both a great shield, the Eagle Shield, or the dual dragon shield. It's the wooden great shield.
Okay.
And the great club. Once I got those two things, any struggles I had in the very early game were essentially a thing of the past. I made that game my bitch, like, immediately. As soon as I was equipped with what I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
I was very, very effective against the entire game from then on. So, I don't think people like hearing about how you beat bosses on the first time. I'm not going to just sit here and say Dark Souls is easy. No, it's definitely a challenge, but when you've played Bloodborne at this point to New Game Plus 6, with all the aggression that goes with that game, all the Chalice dungeons, and all the situations you could possibly think of. And when you play Dark Souls 3, when I've already beaten Gale, I've already beaten Midir, and probably the most important boss for this first thing I'm going to bring up, Sister Frida. When you fight that gang fight, and the demon in pain, demon from below as well, but especially Sister Frida, which is probably the DLC boss I struggle with the most. When you get to Phase 2, you're fighting Sister Frida and Ariandel, and that's a gang fight. So it's one of the guys, with his big ass bowl of fire crawling around the ground, huge ass. I mean, he is definitely a damage sponge. You mostly attack him while Sister Frida tries to heal him in the second phase. That was very difficult to coordinate, doing that the first time, playing it like Bloodborne. Very difficult to coordinate. She's like throwing like these ice paths that can cause you frostbite, which takes your health away and hurts your stamina regeneration, but also knocks you up in the air. So if you get knocked up in the air and Father Ariandel is crawling along the ground with this big ass bowl and it lands on you, you're dead. You're toast. So I died many, many times to Sister Frida, especially in that second phase. Playing it like Bloodborne. When I play co-op nowadays, it's unbelievably easy, but there was a time where I was really struggling to get used to it.
Yeah.
So what's the most famous gang fight in Dark Souls? Well, it's probably Ornstein and Smog. When I got to them, I'm like, I'm going to put on Havel's set, which is a very heavy but very defensive-oriented set. I got my great shield. I got my big club. The great shield is apparently very good defending against lightning, and those two attacks are lightning attacks, especially from Ornstein, the Dragon Slayer. I go into this boss, I'm getting really serious. No more fooling around. So I beat these guys on the first try. First time, one of the most famous bosses ever in gaming, I beat him on the first try. And I think, I don't try to talk about that much. It's because of the topic that kind of makes me want to discuss it. I had a lot of experience before then, especially in Dark Souls 3, to get me to this point where I can just go into this boss and wipe the floor with them. I start attacking Smog. I start attacking Ornstein. There's no HP to these guys. They don't have a whole lot of HP. I'm like, right away, I am not going to die in this fight. Right away. I mean, I have this great club that I've buffed up.
Yeah.
I'm two-handing it. I'm timing everything perfectly. And I, even like the first couple hits, I'm like, there's no way they're going to get me. I mean, what you do with Sister Frida and Father Ariandel, you kind of line them up. The character, one enemy, and enemy two. You kind of line them up. I did the same thing with Ornstein. The pillars don't get all destroyed. The stumps are still there, and I don't think they can walk through it. So you can actually position yourself where one of them gets stuck on the stump while the other one's coming at you. And you can just kind of leave one of them back there while they're doing their attack sequence. They'll eventually get out of it and find you, but by then you're keeping an eye on that the same time. And like I said before, a lot of these bosses just stand there.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's so easy about Vicar Amelia is that you realize, in Bloodborne, one of the required bosses you have to fight, he kind of just sits there for a lot of fights. So what do you got to do? Well, you got to go ham. You just got to keep swinging whatever weapon you're using and get that damage down until she starts moving again. So, spear from Ornstein. Well, you get the two-handed club and you come down. So he's got that's 1/5 of his health gone. So I'm like, this is unbelievable. So sure enough, I beat those guys. But that wasn't the only boss I beat on the first try. And I'll just list them off, the ones I beat on the first try. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's the one. It's it's more important bosses that I beat on the first try. Sif, Quelaag, Knight Artorias, and Manus. Knight Artorias and Manus are probably considered one of the harder bosses in Dark Souls Remastered, Dark Souls 1. But nonetheless, I beat him on the first try, essentially for the same reasons that, I wouldn't say that. Manus doesn't really jump all around the stage. He does have a violent rampage attack, but I've used this great shield to absorb health, and it beats down stamina, and once I'm running out of stamina, I'll kind of position myself away where I can release the shield and build up stamina again, get ready to defend and all that. So yeah, I mean, these aren't that impressive just because I don't play up like Bloodborne, where I don't two-hand the weapon for that long. I do switch from 2 to 1, so I can use the great shield again when they're doing their attack sequences. It worked for me. I'm still fairly impressed with myself. There are 2 bosses that I did not beat on the first try. That's Calamite and 4 Kings. This is easy for me to say, right, because it's long in the past now, but I'm fairly confident I would have beat Calamite on the first try if I had not tried to cut his tail off. On the second try, I did cut his tail off, and I did win.
Okay.
I didn't beat 4 Kings on the first try because there's a kind of an irritating area where you got to go through a whole bunch of dark wraiths to get to that boss fog. So you don't have any. I ran out of Estus and all that stuff, or just wasn't prepared to walk in there. I fought when I got there the second time. I was much more clean going through the path that I knew now and went through the path where the least amount of enemies were. I beat him on the second try. I'm proud of that. I mean, yeah, I do use that huge ass crutch in the shape of a great shield, but you still have to do it like Sekiro, right? You got to time it right if you want to save stamina. You can't just let it stay. You can't just hold it up against you the whole time. Eventually, you'll run out of stamina, and your health will go, and your stamina is at 0. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. That is my list, Cal, of accomplishments that I wanted to talk about tonight. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I would like to. I mean, I'd like to get into those games at some point. It's just, oh man, it seems like it seems like there's so much to them that it's like it kind of gets like overwhelming. It's like, where do you even start with that kind of stuff? Because I just know, like, when I would play Dark Souls, I just wanted to just it's kind of one of my failures of not completing the games. But there's just certain moments in that game where it's like you get beat down by, even just like the basic enemies, where you get, cursed or something. It's just like, oh my God, now I have to go through and do all this shit, and it's so demoralizing.
Yeah. I mean, those games I probably get the least frustrated at, just because I already know what I'm getting into.
Okay.
That's kind of what keeps me going. It's like I already know I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I already know I'm going to die. Like there's a whole bunch of bosses that are not very famous at all. Like Moonlight Butterfly. I died to
yeah, I remember that.
I died to Moonlight Butterfly and Seath more than the bosses I listed.
Oh, that's strange. Yeah. I think I got killed by that butterfly too.
That's like it's kind of annoying. It does all that spell stuff, and you're really not equipped with it in the early game to defend against that.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
But in a lot of these bosses, there's not a bonfire nearby, so you gotta like run back to them quite a distance. I think that's what Dark Souls 3 did really good. Like a lot of these big bosses have a bonfire like right next to where you gotta fight them.
Yeah.
So you don't waste a whole lot of time. That's why this boss I'm on Dark Souls 2, this Dark Lurker. You have to go through these areas with all these enemies. It's just like, Jesus, I just want to fight the boss again. And then when you get to the boss, it's like your strength build doesn't work against them.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are worth it when you get familiar with how things work.
Yeah, and I know like the bosses I did beat in there, I didn't include any on this list. But the bosses that I did beat in that game, I did feel definitely a sense of accomplishment when I was able to take them down and almost outsmart them in a way, or figure out a way that I can actually do it and have an opportunity to attack and all that. It did kind of feel like an accomplishment because it's a little bit different than a lot of the games that I've played. So I definitely did feel a sense of accomplishment on there. I just didn't put it on here because I never completed the game. So I didn't want to include them on here. So I guess the next one on my list would be beating Twilight Princess. First Zelda game, and it was honestly kind of like one of the more challenging games that I think I ever played during that time, because a lot of puzzles and all that, and I wasn't really well versed in that type of game. So it was really new and different for me when I was playing it. But just like, I think, beating Zant in that game, that was kind of a big deal when you go into like the Twilight realm. That was really neat.
Yeah.
Really, that was a really cool boss fight actually, just because of how like ridiculously, he completely broke his character when he, kind of takes his mask off and, he's doing all the weird dancing and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like,
kind of
what
derpy and all that. Yeah.
is this?
Yeah.
So beating him was a big deal because he was kind of painted as like, falsely so, but he was kind of painted as like, the primary villain in the game.
Big bad, yeah.
But then it turns out to be Ganondorf, and that whole Ganondorf battle to me was like really epic because, like I said, I never played anything like that.
Like a 4-phase boss.
Yeah, that was brand new to me. I mean, really all those bosses I thought were really neat. But just like finishing the game and just like, seeing like almost like the credits roll, and and just seeing like the aftermath of the game, and that was kind of like the first really, I guess, during that time, the first like really challenging game that I was able to complete. So that was really cool, and also one of my favorite games of all time. So beating that was really cool.
Yeah, it was like our first game. We had to put like a lot of time in to kind of knock out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like playing Sonic where you can beat it within an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean I'm assuming probably at least 40 hours, maybe more.
I'm pretty sure if you go back to the Wii, the disc we have for the Wii, that's 40 hours. I think when I 100%ed it for the HD version for the Wii U, that's like a 60-hour thing. But there's more to do in, of course, the HD version.
Yeah.
So that's kind of short, kind of small compared to the other games we have that we've put a lot of hours in. But yeah, that was like our first like epic experience. So
yeah, like I just remember when
it was nice seeing all those credits and all that.
Yeah,
very satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Like whenever something happened in that game, it felt like such a big deal because, I mean, there was just nothing else that I played to compare that to.
Yep.
Everything seemed like it had consequences, and I don't know. It just seemed like the risk was greater in that game than anything I played. Everything I played prior to that was very lighthearted, and
yeah,
it was neat though. I really loved that game, and beating it was just. I mean, it just felt great. It's like I can't believe like I've been through all this crap in this game. I've been through all this stuff, all the crazy things that occurred, and like I completed it. I got through. It's good.
You pulled it off. Yeah.
Yes, that was really awesome. Another accomplishment that I put on here, and this isn't a game that I necessarily beat, but I look at it as one of my more prouder moments, and that was when I was playing Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the 3DS. I had the original Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii, and I wasn't very good at it. Like I got to a certain point, and I was like, all right, I'm starting to get it, but it's still kind of difficult. The proud moment on the 3DS was when everything started to click for me, and I started to really understand how to go about, defeating the monsters and doing all that. There was a span of probably about maybe 5 or 6 enemies that I never got a chance to play against in the Tri version just because I just wasn't good enough. And it was probably more than 5 or 6, but I basically gotten to the point where no matter what monster I was facing, I felt like I was really prepared. I felt confident going into the fights, and I just felt like I was kind of playing at my peak. Like I wasn't taking damage. I wasn't losing my food buffs from dying, and I was able to just, kind of slug it out, not burn through all my health things, and just, take the game very slowly, but then very aggressively when I needed to be. And I just made it through like a whole bunch of monsters really quick, without dying. So I thought that whole stretch, eventually I stopped playing the game, and then that, skill level kind of dipped again. I'm going to have to try to pick that up again if I ever start playing Monster Hunter consistently again. But just during that time, I felt really proud because it's like, this is a game that I struggled with very badly for a very long time. From generation to generation, essentially, because the Wii to the 3DS.
Yep.
So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to kind of pick that up and start seeing things kind of click and understanding, the monster patterns and all that. So it was a lot of fun. Now the next one is this one's kind of a weird one. I put multiple Rocket League comebacks.
Okay.
One of the things with Rocket League is, I don't want to go too deep into this, but one of the things with Rocket League is that people quit very easily in that game. If they get down by more than 2 goals, I'd say that the FF rate is pretty darn high. But I mean, we've been down 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals, and we keep playing because it's only a 5-minute game, and it's still fun to try to mount a comeback, or at least try to get some kind of positive momentum heading into the next game. Like I think that's great. And there's been multiple occasions where you have like just like this huge lead against you, and you just kind of like you stand in there, and I've been on the opposite side of this, but like one positive thing happens, and you get a goal, and then all of a sudden it seems like the momentum has just completely shifted. It's like almost like the other team was like napping, or it's just, I don't know, something happens, something occurs where it's like a comeback just starts to feel inevitable. It's like like I said, we've been on that side of it too, where it's
probably
like,
more than the on the comeback side.
Yeah.
Like the choke side is probably where we've been more on.
Yeah. But my favorite thing and the biggest accomplishments are the games, and there's been multiple situations where down by a lot, and you end up tying it with seconds left on the clock. It feels great. I mean, just like the overall, like, hey, for whatever reason I couldn't get anything going early on. Now I'm in the zone and things are just clicking.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the most fun, and because most of the time it happens with people that I think it makes it way more fun because then you can talk about it later on, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I put that as one of them, and this other one I put as building a really strong team on Madden and beating Dakota. So he's
really good at Madden, right?
He's very good. We created a franchise two Maddens ago, and we had like probably about like 7 years in that franchise. So in 7 years, I mean, a lot happens. Like, we made some ridiculous trades that probably would never, ever, ever happen. Like, Dakota traded for like Odell Beckham Jr. So he had like Des Bryant and Odell on his team. It's like, I think I traded like for Adrian Peterson and ended up trading him to the Redskins, which ironically, Adrian Peterson ended up with the Redskins.
In real life, yeah.
I also brought Nick Foles back to Philly, which ended up happening. I brought Alshon Jeffrey to Philly, which ended up happening. I also traded him to the Reds. Or no, he wouldn't sign with me again. He ended up signing with the Redskins. Obviously, that didn't happen in real life. But there are certain things where we ended up predicting, kind of a lot of things that played out eventually in the real world, which is pretty funny. But essentially, it got to the point where my team was just it would not win any games anymore. I was having problems. I couldn't beat Dakota, so I basically went into rebuilding mode where, excluding like Carson Wentz, anyone that was over 30 or 30, I released. I just cut them completely and just went into full rebuild mode.
It's
I
like
traded
Bill
away.
Walsh. It's like Bill Walsh, the Niners.
I traded away all the star players I had. I had Le'Veon Bell at one point. I had Antonio Brown at one point. I traded them all away for high draft picks, and I just built through the draft. So I looked for certain, attributes to the players, such as like for my linebackers, my primary objective was to get speedy linebackers. I was trying to find the fastest one. So I would do like the little research option and look at their 50-yard dash and all that, where they ranked in terms of speed. And essentially I built a brand new secondary. I drafted a wide receiver in the last round of the draft. He was like not even projected to be a pick. He turned out to have a superstar development, which is kind of rare. And he ended up like in like his fourth season, he was like already tied in like touchdowns with Jerry Rice. So he was like, it was ridiculous. But there's just certain things. I mean, it was just a lot of fun because like he was building his team through the draft, and he had the Dallas Cowboys, I had the Eagles. They kind of became more or less our teams because they were like our guys that we brought in there. And my defense ended up getting to the point where it was so good that the final game that I played against Dakota, I ended up beating them. Like my defense that I built from rookies to, whenever they ended up being, like he would try to run to the outside. My linebackers were so fast. Like it was everything that I wanted, I drafted, and they all turned out to be, key pieces.
Nice.
So it was just a lot of fun. And whenever I beat Dakota in those games, I mean, it's very rare that I do. Like I get better throughout the year as like I get more and more used to each Madden, because each Madden kind of is slightly different. They like tweak something that makes the gameplay a little bit different. So you kind of have to get used to it. But once I get used to it, like my best chances of beating Dakota are the first game we play together because we're both getting used to the game.
Right.
and then like our last game that we play throughout the year, because I start to kind of catch up and start to, play better. But I will say that playing with Dakota makes me a way better player. If I play anybody else, I freaking destroy them, because I'm playing against them like they're Dakota, like the guy I play with from work. He is not very good, and I beat the shit out of him every time we play. We have yet to complete a game where he hasn't rage quit, like just turned off his PlayStation.
What makes you so good, though? How do you get so good? Do what you're saying? Is that like a franchise thing too, or is this like just taking two teams and playing against each other?
It's the thing with, I guess, because Dakota actually has, me and him have gone into, I guess, almost like practice mode together, and he's kind of helped me determine like coverages and things like that. So when I'm playing against my friend, he only selects a certain amount of plays. So when I see it when I'm on the offensive side of the ball, I see his formation. I can kind of tell what coverage. If he's not going to disguise his cover 3, he's not going to disguise his cover 2. Based off of how he's positioned, I can kind of determine if there is going to be a blitz. If he's stacking the box with linebackers, then is there a shortage somewhere else? Is there like a mismatch? Is his corner slower than the guy I have on the outside? So I can kind of adjust on the fly. I can call the same play over and over again, but completely change it, change the routes.
Yeah.
And he won't be able to cover it because I have advantages there. Like he is, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically, you can kind of pick up, what they're doing and kind of read what the best play is, and you can kind of audible to a play that matches personnel.
Yeah.
And and just like on defense, I think a lot of people don't realize that you're supposed to call your defensive play based on the cue that Madden gives you. It'll tell you how many receivers are in their huddle and how many running backs are going to be on the field. So you can kind of determine what kind of play it's going to be, but you can also kind of throw people off like that. You can call a shotgun play and have all those receivers. They'll come out in more of a pass-oriented defense, and you can run the ball, and you have an advantage there depending on O-line and all that.
Okay.
So it's very intricate, and I think playing with him, I kind of just naturally pick it up because he plays very strategically, I think.
Yeah.
I think he has a certain amount of plays that he runs, but he does a very good job at disguising them, and I don't know. He's very good at defending anything that I do. Sometimes I'll have drives where he can't stop me, and same with him. Like I'll just not be able to stop him. But I play a little bit, I think, unconventionally in terms of moving around with the quarterback. I like to move around and open up passing lanes that aren't there if you stay in the pocket. So it's very fun and very rewarding. Just playing in general and learning that stuff. It's kind of like an accomplishment all its own.
Yeah.
But that franchise mode though was a ton of fun, and we're probably going to do it again this year because the connected franchise modes are just so much fun. But yeah, that's probably the last one on my list.
Okay.
Now I do have some people's accomplishments on Twitter. I figured I'd just save them to the end because I figured that we would have a decent amount. So this one is at Ultimate Guys. My proudest gaming moment. Yes, this is Tetris DS, aka one of the best Tetris games out there. The picture in the background is a reference to the original Tetris on the NES and Game Boy. It's great that when Nintendo made this game to show, it's great that back then Nintendo made this game to show Nintendo gaming history. So I guess in this sense, this was more of a not really a personal accomplishment, but kind of just he was proud of, I guess, Nintendo's. I guess just something that Nintendo did. It kind of triggered like nostalgia or something. So I guess that kind of just made him proud, knowing that Nintendo, kind of went back and gave a reference to their older games. So I was a little bit confused with this one, and these are kind of taken out of context a lot of times. But I thought that was kind of neat because it wasn't like a traditional, proud. It wasn't really because he's not really saying accomplishment. He's saying it's his proudest gaming moment. So this is kind of like he's kind of proud. I guess Tetris has come this far along.
That he's witnessed this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool. It was something different. This is at Freeze23 Gaming. I'm happy that Halo 3 is trending. This is a couple weeks ago that I accumulated these, so it's probably not trending right now. The game brings back so many great memories, and beating the game on Legendary solo and co-op was so fun. I enjoyed getting all the achievements too, and one of my proudest moments was when I earned the Recon helmet. I found this on my file share, and it basically has a picture of him with his Recon helmet on. So it's cool that he's able to take a picture of that with his system. It's not really that long ago when you weren't able to really take that. You just did something and there's no way to share it.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. That's definitely relatable. There's certain games where you unlock like armor sets, or you get something like even Monster Hunter. When you unlock like a certain armor set, it takes so long to build up to that point to like farm all the parts you need to craft the set. I could definitely understand that that's kind of a big deal. So yeah, I definitely understand why that would feel like an accomplishment to get something like that, because it kind of shows like you accomplished something and did something in game, which I think is like really cool. It's not like nowadays where you just get like microtransaction to get accessories and all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. This is at Small Fruit Loop. My proudest gaming moment was in Destiny 2, having a higher kill death ratio and being number 1 on the board, more than the very guy who introduced me to games and first person shooters. So I kind of feel bad for his friend that introduced him, because now I guess a somewhat newer player is already kind of surpassed him.
That's how it goes.
Yep. That's just how it is. At Unpure Apostle, my biggest accomplishment was hitting Pirate Legend in Sea of Thieves, joining the 1% of the game that has done so. Personal gaming win. So that was kind of like an example of just a personal achievement. So I wanted to just I kind of skipped this part. I figured I'd save it to the last portion, just because I thought this was kind of a cool or I guess an interesting question, because you mentioned like platinums and all that. Now for you, what do you find more important? Because there's so many different types of achievements and accomplishments and goals and different things. I mean, there's a lot of like, I guess, that goes into saying like, you accomplished something. So do you find something more, I guess, satisfying when it's like a personal accomplishment, or when it's like more of like a defined accomplishment, like Xbox achievements or PlayStation trophies?
Yeah, well, personal accomplishments, I think personal accomplishments are more important. There's something they've set up that you can test yourself against.
Yeah.
Platinum trophy, that's the famous trophy, but there's other trophies that are kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Bronze trophies, gold, silver trophies. Like in Metal Gear 5, you can collect the animals by putting an item down in a particular part of the map. It doesn't really serve a whole purpose.
Yeah.
But there's a trophy that you've collected all the animals. It's hard to get without a guide, because it's a huge open world game.
Yeah.
You're putting down this little item in this one spot. You're trying to look for like a carcarol. Yeah, you don't know where to find it. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Unless you know where they live, it just doesn't work. So I think it's really great when you get a platinum trophy for a Bloodborne. Bloodborne, hard game, platinum. But
yeah,
there's silly ones. Like Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. You get a trophy for dying the first time. Okay, that's pretty silly. But maybe a better one would be do a soul level 5 or 15 or 20 or even SL1 run, a soul level 1 run, where you're trying to beat the game with as little health and as little attack power as possible.
Yeah.
That's a personal accomplishment you hold for yourself. That's such a difficult task, you'll never see an official cookie cutter trophy for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably more satisfying, and it's something you can test yourself again. Sometimes people do deathless runs. They want to fight every boss without dying. There's no trophy for that either. That's way too difficult. I think in most cases you'll never see something like that. So personal trophies, personalized ones, can be harder, and really test yourself, almost like setting aside a personal best for you.
Yeah.
Something you can keep getting better at. Whereas trophies are more, by the numbers in a lot of cases, and really just a conglomerate with the cumulative for the platinum trophies. That's all it is. Just you've done a whole bunch of spending time in a game, and this is the more or less a symbol for it. Some of these you got to spend a lot of time on. You didn't really do anything all that difficult. You just spent, you more or less wasted time doing like the Covenant items, getting all the Covenant items in Dark Souls 3, where if you're trying to get all the miracles, all the sorceries, etc., and you have to do certain Covenant tasks, like there's a Dark Moon Covenant, you may need to get a special ring, and you have to, after you get these 20 or 30 ears, proof of Concord kept, I think they're called, you get 30 of those after helping other people in the same Covenant kill invaders. 30 of them, that's a freaking a lot. Or you can farm the Silver Knights in Orlando, and that's just one Covenant. You got to do it like 3 more times for 4 different Covenants. So, but you have to platinum it. You have to spend all that time, and you're not necessarily enjoying yourself while you're doing it. I'd much rather play like a whole bunch of co-op and get a whole bunch of Sunlight medals, because that's way more fun. But it's not, you don't get a trophy for getting 600 or 700 Sunlight medals. Another example, Rocket League, you're required to play season mode to get a platinum trophy. I actually did this like 2 months ago.
Oh, really?
I'm like, oh man, I'm really close to this. What do I have to do? And it's like you got to play season and beat all the CPU teams in one season. I'm just like, are you shitting me? 5 minutes. I mean, obviously, I don't want there to be a risk of me losing it all.
Oh, yeah.
So I made him like easy as possible and just like dribble the ball around for 5 minutes each time so the game wouldn't stop. Like I'd score like 2 goals to make it safe and then just run the clock out.
Oh, my God.
God. So I didn't feel satisfied at all getting that platinum trophy. I'm like, I literally just played the CPU for 2 hours.
Oh, God.
Just to say I had it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that.
I don't know. Sometimes platinum trophies are way too hard to get. I actually looked at this before we started the podcast.
Okay.
GTA 5, the platinum. Right now, it's at a 0.1 platinum rate.
Holy crap.
0.1. I think
there's a lot of players, too.
There's a lot of players. There's a lot of online achievements that are actually in vanilla GTA's trophy list that you have to get platinum.
Wow.
At least how I understand it. So compare that to like Sekiro, which I'm sure is at like 8%.
Yeah.
Challenging game. You got to beat the game, I think, 4 times. To get platinum trophy. And this GTA game, which isn't challenging. I think most of it's not challenging, not compared to Sekiro.
Yeah.
It's just so much less than that. One of the things you got to do is you got to make a profit on the investments in the stock market in the game.
What the hell?
I think that's a trophy. So that's one of the trophies you'd have to get the platinum trophy.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I have Googled that before to see what it was entailed. And when I found the answer, this was like 3 years ago. I'm like, why would I ever do this? I'd rather just drive around a whole bunch, and go through in between cars and stuff and do this. I mean, you're like on your cell phone and you're picking like companies. There's probably a trick to it that you can learn in game. But why? Why would you spend time doing that? We can just drive around and shoot things.
God.
There's fun trophies too. Cal, I can keep going again. If you want to add anything, I'll let you go ahead. But like I said, I do have more here.
I just wanted to throw this in real quick because
Yeah.
me and Dakota were playing MLB the other night, and he told me, just because we're talking about trophies, it just kind of jogged the memory in my head. He said that he was playing Road to the Show mode, and his team got no hit, and he actually got a trophy for a no-hitter, even though the other team threw the no-hitter.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty funny.
That's interesting.
Because after the game, he's like, what the heck happened?
Oh, did you read that story where someone got a trophy for not playing a game for 5 years? Did you read that headline?
No.
All right, I don't remember this. You just made me think of it. Man, this would have been a great thing to mention. Maybe we can just follow up on this next time. There's this guy didn't play a game for 5 years on Steam, I think, and he got a trophy for it. But when he turned it on again, the trophy went away.
What?
Because the streak broke? Something like that. We got to look more into that.
Oh, man,
I don't know if I have that all right, but reading that was very interesting.
What
it just
the hell?
feeds into the fact that the things you don't set up for yourself that anyone can do, they're not always the best.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say here. Now, Sonic Mania kind of does it kind of cool. It's a very small trophy list. There's no platinum trophy because these are fairly easy to do to get these bronze trophies. Like there's a part in Studiopolis in Sonic Mania. I think it's Studiopolis 1. I think it is. Actually, you know what? Now I think of it, it probably is Studiopolis Act 2, where you have to get your picture taken.
Okay.
There's those little robots, botniks. I think the bots in those games actually have a name, and I can't remember it all of a sudden. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, the enemies in the level take pictures of you, Studiopolis. Like that's part of their kind of thing.
That's weird.
And they take little flashes. But there's this one area where there's a whole bunch of them, like 5 or 6, instead of just one flying around. There's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And when your character speeds up to them, they'll come out of this little hole in the wall and I'll take your picture. So if you find that little area, that's a trophy.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like Christian Whitehead made this game with a whole bunch of help. There's trophies for Sonic Mania, Sonic CD as well. And I think one of the ones is finding the Angel Trophy in Wacky Workbench. So a lot of these things are kind of a callback to that, Sonic CD. So that's one, and there's also, you find like a secret submarine in Oil Ocean. There's a few submarines that are in plain sight, but there's one you have to go beneath the oil to find, which is pretty cool. And that's a trophy. You get a trophy for that. There's one, this is an easy one. It sounds hard at first when you do Start a Speedway Act 2, you have to do it within a minute. But it only took me a very few tries to get that trophy, like maybe 3 or 4 times to actually get the level under me. It's a very fast level. I think if you take the high road, you're pretty much golden. So I like how that those are trophies that are available to everyone. Those are accomplishments that are available to everyone. They're kind of fun.
Yeah.
Don't really take a whole lot of time. Yeah, you don't really get that satisfying platinum trophy, but they aren't really that difficult to really make you deserving of one in the first place. Some of my favorite achievements are personal ones. I mentioned Sonic 3 and Knuckles before. Sonic 1, I do try to get like 25 lives by the end of the game. That is a very challenging game, and spikes in that game will insta kill you. You can't bounce off of them. You'll lose your rings. No, you'll lose your shield. You'll lose your rings, and then you die. There's no after hit invincibility when you land in the spikes.
Oh, really?
In that original game, yeah. So that one's challenging. So I try. This is much less satisfying in my opinion than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but I try to end the game with about 25 lives. I mean, as a little kid, I would struggle to not get continues.
Yeah.
But 25 lives now, makes me wow, I've really come a long way in my game playing experience.
Oh, yeah.
This is a kind of a common one. Sonic 2, Chaos Emeralds, getting them all before the end of Emerald Hill Zone. There's actually 8 star posts in spread across Emerald Hill 1 and 2. Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 2 can be challenging if you're playing as Sonic and Tails. You have to get more rings, and you have to kind of control Tails. He's has a little bit delay when you're in that half pipe. But getting all of the Chaos Emeralds, when you there's so many rings in these 2 first acts that it is possible to get them all between all the star posts that are there. It's very satisfying when I have Supersonic right at the start of the game, right as you get into even before Emerald Hill ends, you can be playing as Supersonic if you were good enough. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I don't know if I've actually ever done this, but I try to do it when I go in there, is not dying at all. Having all those lives is nice, but it's even harder to not lose any single one of them. I don't know if I've actually have done it, but it means a lot to me when I play a game that kills a lot of people die when they play, and me doesn't kill me at all. It's just kind of a reflection of how much I care about this game, not to have my character die in it.
Yeah.
To me, it's not necessarily a personal best, but it makes games more interesting. Whereas once you get the easy to play trophies, you pretty much never think of them again.
That's true.
You could say that about platinum trophies too. I don't really brag about platinum trophies. These are video games we're talking about. I mean, it's not these aren't earth-shattering revelations. So, but these personal bests that you kind of test yourself with on your favorite games keeps you going, keeps you playing them, even though they've long come and gone.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, I think personal accomplishments add longevity to what you like to play. And certainly I keep trying to build off of what I've done so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly second that as well. Platinum trophies and really just trophies in general, I just never really felt the need to do it. Even Spider-Man, you literally get a platinum trophy for just completing everything in Spider-Man. I don't have a platinum trophy in it just because there's maybe one or two things I didn't do, but I beat the game and was satisfied, and I'll probably go back to it eventually and complete those things because I want to go back for the DLC. But trophies in general don't mean much to me, and I feel like once I beat a game, depending on what game it is, obviously there's exceptions. Breath of the Wild, I'll honestly probably keep going back to that game, every so often to play it again and again and again, just because I love that game a lot, and I feel like that game just doesn't really get old because you can kind of play it in very different ways when you go back to it. But in terms of collecting trophies and going back to a game and trying to do some ridiculous task that it wants you to do, to me it kind of takes the enjoyment out of the game. Like, I want to play a game until I'm satisfied, and once I'm satisfied, I want to move on. I don't want to sit there and try to complete every little thing that they, ended up putting, in there. So I understand people that like it, and I understand that, these two things can kind of overlap a little bit, like personal achievements and, getting these trophies. I mean, it could be a personal achievement for you to get a platinum trophy. So there's definitely some overlap there. But I just think that, I think more about the accomplishments that I've, personal accomplishments that I've made, more so the fact than like a random trophy, like you got hit by a train in Grand Theft Auto. I mean, it's like it's not, it's just it doesn't mean that much to me. So I think definitely what you were saying, like how it's really the personal achievements and goals and all that to playing a game that kind of keeps you going back to it and keeps you continuing to play games rather than, these trophies that, kind of give you some incentive to continue to play the game. Like, hey, you've completed the game normally, but, have you tried to, stack like 100 enemies in Minecraft, or I don't know, some crazy thing that you don't really need to do.
I wonder if there's people out there who combine the two. Try to personal best getting the trophies as fast as possible. I feel like there probably is a thing where I know there's plenty of speedrunners out there, and they do their I don't know if this is still around or not. Games done quick.
Yeah.
Good games done quick. Bad games done quick. I wonder if there's speedruns out there, like they start off with like a maybe not Dark Souls because it's such a pain in the ass, such a time waste to get the platinum trophy, but maybe there's certain games where they start the clock at the beginning of the game and end the clock when the platinum trophy is awarded to them.
Yeah.
I think that is actually a thing. So that's actually pretty damn cool, especially when you do it for charity.
Yeah.
So this thing we're bashing these, the accomplishments, the cookie cutter accomplishments may actually serve a greater purpose for depending on how people do them.
Yeah.
Not all bad. Not all bad.
No, and I know that, if you look at IGN, Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty, it went kind of funny. They had like kind of a competition almost as to who could get more platinum trophies in their games. So they would kind of compete, they would talk about their totals and stuff like that. So I guess it was kind of their personal goal to beat one another in terms of how many they were able to accumulate. But, even if you hear, I guess, I know Colin goes back and he talks about this a lot, where he wishes that he didn't play some of the games that were like super easy platinum trophies because it kind of takes away the accomplishment of it. It's like, yeah, you got the platinum just by playing the game, and it wasn't a great game.
Yeah.
So it's like,
big deal.
yeah. Like, so he always says, he wishes he could go back and just like erase that. But I think once you get your trophies, that's it. I mean, they're set.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's like having achievements and having a trophy system in there is definitely great for people that are, extreme completionists and ones that, like to go and try to, accomplish things outside of, I guess, the normal, in-game accomplishments, like, beating the story and, stuff like that, trying to kind of go, and fulfill, I guess, those, not really sure how to say it, but I guess kind of just like, fit those guidelines in order to kind of, get those trophies. So, I mean, it's cool that they have those in place. I just know personally, I'm not someone that typically cares that much for it, and they don't really mean too much to me. So,
I like seeing the notification.
I like the sound.
Bing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bing. Whatever it is when you're rewarded.
I don't even remember.
It's kind of addicting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think when to play games over and over again, you got to kind of test yourself on how good you are at them.
Yeah. Like, I think it's great because it adds like kind of like a little bit of replayability to games. Like, if you were really interested in completing all those,
I mean, a lot of games you can't. I mean, Dark Souls is a great. Bloodborne especially is a great example of this, where you actually cannot platinum the game. Yeah, you can save scum to get each ending, but to do it the right way, you have to play the game multiple times.
Yeah.
And you do get better at it as you do it.
Yeah.
So that kind of keeps you going. But I didn't really think about getting the platinum trophy. I just wanted to play the game again.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the game that much that I wanted to see how much better at it the first time. It's kind of like Sonic.
Yeah, which I think that's kind of how, I guess, most games should kind of, most like, developers just kind of make their games, kind of strive for that. Like, hey, let's make this game so good that, people want to keep playing it. People want to, keep going back to it. It's not just for the trophies. The trophies are kind of a bonus. It's like, hey, this kind of shows that you, played through it and you did everything you needed to do to get these, and that's great. But it makes it a lot more meaningful if you enjoyed like every minute of playing it throughout all those playthroughs. Like, if that's how good your game is, that people can just play through it again and again, even though they kind of know more or less what's going to happen. But if the game is that good, I mean, that's kind of an achievement for them.
Right.
Making a game that plays that well and is that much fun for, the player to do. So, I think that's that's definitely something that I guess the Souls games have, and certain other games have it too. And everyone kind of, I guess, has different tastes too, and if the game is worth going in there and completing all that stuff, then that's just how it is. But I think that it's really it's a good thing they have those in there. But I was just really curious though. I guess what you valued more, just your personal accomplishments, and just compared to like the trophies and all that. Because I mean, back in Genesis days, I mean, they didn't have any form of achievements or anything. You just kind of
that's why I kind of bring those up, because you really are testing. Those are my favorite games.
Yeah.
And the personal things you set aside for yourself to see if you can beat or even do in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
No one's keeping track except you. So, I don't know. It's kind of like your own thing that you can share in mediums like this, but anyone can do the standard stuff, what's listed for you in Steam or PlayStation.
Yeah.
But no one's gonna. There is nothing out there. No one has competition out there that says how many lives you can get before you get to Ice Cap Zone. That I entertain myself with, and I'll do that each time I'll play it to keep this game fresh.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. You only get a trophy that one time. You don't have to do it again. I don't know. It's not like I said. It's not bad. I mean,
no.
They both serve their purpose, but to really get a connection to a game, you do need to set aside. If you really do enjoy it, find ways to keep playing it again. And setting aside personal goals for yourself is one way to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't know about you, but I think I'm all out of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be trying to Platinum Trophy Dark Souls Remastered. Not looking forward to it because it does have that system where you got to collect things.
Yeah.
By doing a lot of PvP, player versus player, and it's just exhausting.
So they actually included that in their trophies, and you actually have to go and do that.
Yeah, I mean the thing is they do it indirectly. They like make you get all miracles, and I think you have to get certain items to get a miracle to satisfy that trophy. You have to do it. You have to get all those special swords, all the special weapons.
Okay.
I don't know. I like seeing it there. I like seeing the platinum trophy there. As much as we bash the list of things, and like I said, well, we're not bashing them. We're just liking.
Yeah.
We're just liking personal achievements more than things that the game sets out for you, I think. But I do like seeing it there. I like seeing a 100%. I like being thorough.
Yeah, and I imagine that's addicting in itself.
It is.
You know,
Yeah.
Once you see it there and the other ones, it's like, well, I kind of have to get it for this one now because.
Yeah. I mean, I've set a precedent for myself. Yeah, even like that, right? That's a personal accomplishment.
It is,
when you line them all up.
Yeah.
You kind of just want to say, hey, you know, I got all these.
Yeah.
All the work I put in it.
Yeah. So it is really cool. It definitely is really cool. So I think that's all I have for the trophies. Did you have anything else you wanted to add in there, or?
I don't know. If you haven't played the Spike Rush mode for Rocket League, I checked that out. You know, that may not last forever if you're a Rocket League fan, even if you're just getting into Rocket League, or you know, I don't think that game is that expensive to buy the vanilla Rocket League. That probably comes with it. So test that out. Well, you still have a chance. I mean, the summer's going to go by like that. So a lot of these game modes in that game and the you know, man. I don't know. I didn't talk to John about this yet, but you get like those special wheels when you're playing Rocket League right now. The Summer of '86 wheels, like this blue grid on the outside.
I haven't seen
and
those.
It's like a sun on like the face of the wheel. Oh my God, they're very attractive, very attractive. So yeah, I mean, check that game out. They're doing a cool '80s thing right now. Rocket League. They've been for the past month.
Yeah.
It's not going to last forever. A few more weeks, maybe into the mid-August. That's all I can really share right now.
Okay. Well, that is good that you mentioned Rocket League because next week we are having a special Rocket League edition of Gamepinions. We're going to be talking all about Rocket League, and make sure you guys tune in for that. And if you guys haven't checked out our last episode, which was all about game soundtracks and if they are overlooked or underrated, etc., definitely go check that out after this episode because I honestly feel like that was I'm actually really proud of that episode. I went back and listened to it, and honestly, I just feel like we did a very, very good job on that episode. So I'm very proud of it. Talking about accomplishments, you guys should go ahead and check that out. Episode 25. You guys can find Gamepinions on your favorite podcast app and YouTube, and yeah, we're going to be kicking in some Rocket League stuff next week, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode today. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to coming back to you next week.
Y'all come back now.